All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Sterling Heights City Council to order. If you would, please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, please bless our elected officials. Grant them courage and wisdom to do what is right for all citizens. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Riska. Can we please have the roll call?
Mayor Taylor?
Here.
Mrs. Roski?
Here.
Kosky?
Present.
Radke?
Present.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Present.
Mr. Yanez?
Here.
Mrs. Ziergo?
Present.
Thank you, Council. We need approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Konski.
move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? With no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. First item on our agenda tonight is a report from our city manager, Mark Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you, Mayor. We get a lot of inquiries this time of year from residents wondering when our street sweeping program will begin. And we're just a week or two away from that starting. Sometimes it starts a little earlier with weather permitting, but it's been a little sketchy the last couple of weeks. So anyhow, look forward to street sweeping commencing in the next couple of weeks. We normally make 4 revolutions a year. So we look forward to getting out and about. Some of the curb lines, I was driving the neighborhoods a couple days ago, and they're definitely needed. So look forward to the sweeping commencing. Also, I wanted to remind residents that we do have our Shine program. You hear me talk about this a lot, but it's coming up quickly. It's on Saturday, May 3rd, and we need volunteers to help out with this program. Once again, SHINE stands for our Sterling Heights Initiative for Neighborhood Excellence. A couple times a year, our volunteer corps goes out in the community and helps residents clean up homes. We clean up around 50 or so on each of the SHINE days, one in the spring, one in the fall. And we need about 75 volunteers. We normally get them, but if those of you who might be looking to help out on May 3rd, that is a Saturday, the volunteers meet at 9:30 a.m. at First Church on DeQuinder, and that address is 39400. You don't have to do anything but show up. You'll be assigned a team, and it's great to see everyone come together. The camaraderie is wonderful, but most importantly, it's nice to help out those in need. So we look forward to seeing you there. And Mayor, we have a couple of special presentations again this evening, beginning with our dog licensing amnesty program. And we have a special guest here for that presentation too. But our city clerk, actually Chelsea May, our deputy city clerk, is going to kick this off.
Thank you, Mr. Vanderpool, and good evening, Mayor, Council, and Mr. Denault. On behalf of the City Clerk's Office, I'm excited to announce the dog license amnesty program. Here with me today is our spokesdog, the Sterling Heights Police Department's very own Toby. Yay! Running now through June 30th, residents can apply or renew their dog's license without facing late fees or penalties. This limited time program aims to promote responsible pet ownership and enhance community safety. Michigan state law requires all dogs over the age of 6 months to be licensed. Dog licenses not only protect our pets, but keep the community safe. A licensed dog is easier to return home if lost, and licensing helps ensure all dogs are vaccinated, reducing the risk of rabies and other diseases. Another perk of having a dog license is access to the city's dog park. Located at Joseph Delia Park, dog owners can enjoy a scenic and safe off-leash area. An annual pass can be obtained through Parks and Rec. License fees vary depending on alteration of the dog and expiration date of the current rabies vaccination. Owners who have never applied for a dog license or that may have missed the deadline of March 31st will avoid a $12 late fee during this time. The City of Sterling Heights offers dog licenses at no charge for senior citizens and to owners of service dogs. Owners must complete a hard copy application, which can be mailed, faxed, or emailed to Pet Data. Although our office no longer provides license tags at the counter, we would be happy to assist with the application and required paperwork. Residents can apply and renew online or by mail through Pet Data. Detailed instructions can be found on the city clerk's page of the city website or by contacting the city clerk's office. We hope residents take advantage of this amnesty program and help keep our community's pets safe. Thank you.
And we cannot get enough of Toby. Came out. Thank you very much. And Mayor, moving on, as you know, we have a best-in-class police and fire department, not to mention so many other award-winning departments. But we have some amazing work going on in our police department. You heard from our first budget hearing, the great projects going on. But there's two that we did not highlight, and we'd like to highlight them tonight. And I'd like to call on our interim police chief, Ken Pappas, who's going to kick this off.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Mr. Vanderpool, Mr. Denault. Didn't really want to have to follow Toby tonight, but here I stand. I want to thank you for this opportunity to talk tonight. I'm proud to announce, as Mr. Vanderpool said, 2 additional efforts that the department will be launching. Both these programs are in addition to the exciting developments we just presented to council last week, and they also build on the many ongoing efforts the department has in place that are already serving citizens throughout the city. Each of these initiatives will reflect our commitment to the city and our preparedness, compassion, and collaboration. In keeping with the city's mental health strategic plan, I have Lieutenant Cole here tonight, who's going to introduce our special needs registry. This is a voluntary program. 1 second, sir.
He's ready.
This is a voluntary program designed to improve how officers engage with and support individuals with physical, developmental, and emotional disabilities. This registry is a proactive step towards engaging with and supporting these individuals, and it speaks directly to the department's mission of better serving the residents with understanding and care. Following that, I have Deputy Chief Allen, who will, he's going to present an exciting regional effort, the CERT Games. This is a joint training exercise involving 9 community emergency response teams from neighboring jurisdictions. We're going to host this at Lakeside Mall. This event is a direct example of our strong partnerships with other jurisdictions and the city's stakeholders. So with that, I'd like to present Lieutenant Cole.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Yes, sir. Good evening. First and foremost, I'd like to say thank you to City Manager Vanderpool, Mayor Taylor, Mayor Pro Tem Sorowski, and esteemed City Council. I appreciate this opportunity to present the Special Needs Registry. Especially grateful to Captain Bastinelli, Acting Deputy Chief Allen, and Interim Chief Pappas for trusting me with this meaningful project. It's an honor to work on something that supports and protects our most valuable citizens, and that's important to me. So what is the Special Needs Registry? So with that being said, the purpose is to really help the Sterling Heights police officers better assist citizens in our community. And what it is, it's an opportunity and it's voluntary for our citizens to go online, our city website, click on the link and enter any of their family members or caregivers that have physical, mental, or emotional disabilities to provide us important information and helps us as first responders better understand and assist those that are in need and respond efficiently and in the right manner. Who can register? Any individual who has special needs. So that includes autism, dementia, those with PTSDs, Alzheimer's, Down syndrome, any of those and many more that you feel is necessary for us to know. A parent, a guardian, a caregiver, any of those people can go online and they can enter those people into our registry. Why is it important? A special needs registry is important because it gives first responders critical information fast. So faster emergency response, better communication, especially in times of crisis if they have a loved one that is missing within our city. We have the ability to upload and have that information available as we're responding from dispatch, because when it's entered into the special needs registry, once it's approved, we can send it over to Comtech. They also will have the ability to upload a picture, and that will be sent to us, so we have that real-time information and know what their triggers, their hooks, and all of those things that go along with those that, need the special needs registry. How does it work? Well, it's easy. So it's step-by-steps. We walk through it. This form, and thanks to Marissa Russo, she was an integral part of putting this form together, which was absolutely amazing. It's super easy. There's going to be some drop downs. You're going to enter all the information on there, have the ability to upload photos, be able to tell us what their communication needs are. So some are nonverbal, so we can respond with, cards that can help them respond and communicate with us with smiley faces and however we might, choose to provide that information. So for us, this is super important for us to know those things as we respond to give the most efficient response possible from the police community. The information also includes any medical conditions, emergency photos, emergency contacts, all of those real-time numbers, everything that for us as police officers is so critical. And when we're going to somebody's residence who might be in a crisis or have somebody in a crisis, the last thing that they need to do is have to, stop what they're doing or during their time of concern is give us all this information that we can have provided to us prior to arrival. To me, it just is so efficient and so necessary for us to give the best care and the best response necessary from our police officers. How to register? There's 3 different ways. You can do it by going on the city's website, click on the link and enter all the information yourself. You can come into the station if you're, not able to, go onto a computer or you just don't have the knowledge of working a computer. It's for everybody. You can come in and we will do or help you with that process and entering all of that information. So to me, that's important. And then we also have people that, just don't have the means or transportation of getting in. Call us. We will help walk you through it and get that information entered. For us, the most important thing is for people to be able to upload that information, have their family in the right care, and have the right response from us. So whatever it takes, we will help you. That's just what we do at the Sterling Heights Police Department. With that being said, I just want to say thank you. I think this is going to be a groundbreaking thing for us as police officers and a police department altogether. I'm excited about this initiative, and I'm excited for our community because I think it's so important for everybody to feel in our community that there is help, and we are there to provide that assistance and that help. I appreciate that, and thank you for allowing me to present it.
Mayor, can we ask questions or?
Yeah, go ahead.
So through the chair to Lieutenant Cole, I just have a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, is this information also going to be shared with the fire department?
Yes, so we have the ability to make sure that we share that, since it will be sent over to Comtech. All of that information should be, entered in and available to them as well. I think it's important for us to all work together with both police and fire to have this information so we all can respond correctly. So this isn't just something that is only for us as a police department. This is something that is most certainly able to be shared with our fire department.
Okay, and my last question is HIPAA. So is everyone in the department going to be trained on HIPAA regulations, or is this HIPAA secured, or how are we dealing with that?
That's a very good question. So there is, this has gone through our legal department, and there are some disclaimers on there allowing us to have this information and provide this to. So there's a couple check boxes on that registry that gives us the ability to share that information and upload it real time. So they do have to sign off on that. We are not just giving out this information or taking it in and providing it without that release.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further.
You're
Mayor.
welcome.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. Anyone else? Mrs. Zarko.
Thank you. Lieutenant
Yes, ma'am.
Cole, when you say that you're sharing this information, is it within a department, or say if somebody is missing and we want other departments in the area to help us? Would you, is there someplace in there where it's a disclaimer that says if that information needs to be, shared with another law enforcement agency, that you'll be able to do that?
Yeah, so from my understanding, with the information and the legal outline that they have to check off prior to submitting the registry, that also releases and would allow us to share that information with any police department that might be assisting us. Another great thing is that eventually, we're hoping to link up with the Michigan State Police VIP, vulnerable program. And that is something that is, as we work through the kinks of this, to also attach it to that as well. So I think the future's kind of bright of where we're heading with this and how much information we can gather and working alongside with the Michigan State Police. Also, and I didn't mention, but I had spoken to some representatives through ARC, which is a nonprofit here in Macomb County, and they have a lot of trust in our community. They know all of the people that should be provided this opportunity of special needs registry, and they are going to also assist us as well, so that that trust is there with an entity that's already been working with
I know we
special needs.
collaborate with other, other departments. Is there any other departments in the area already doing this?
Only one so far that I know of, and that's Clinton Township Police Department. And I'll be honest with you, I was teaching for the county a CIT class, and it was brought to my attention that they did it. With that being said, I knew that Sterling Heights PD, usually I don't like to be second, to anybody, but we'll take second place this time. But they did a really great job with theirs as well. And I met with them several times just to make sure that we were doing it the right way. And I'm proud to say that I think that we are definitely in the right direction, and it's ready to be up and running with all of your approval.
Okay, and then when will it be up and running? Is this something that, we're not voting on this or anything, are we? And it's just.
No,
it's
it should be up and
presentation.
running tomorrow.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Nothing further. We know about it.
Mrs. Sarowski.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. So through the chair to Lieutenant Cole, you alluded to the state police. Does this also hook up with Amber Alert? How is that going to merge and marry up?
So this should be information that we can utilize for Amber Alerts. It would just have to meet those criteria to make it an Amber Alert. But once those criteria are met and we have that information, then yes, we should be able to utilize all of the information that we have and use it on that alert system as well.
Okay, great. And really, that was my only question, so thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Sarowski. Mrs. Konski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Lieutenant Cole, how will you know that this is a person that needs assistance? As an example, if it's an autistic child that has an incident, not necessarily in school, but let's say in a grocery store or something, how are you going to be able to identify that, number one, that they are autistic, and number two, that the information is available? Will they have any kind of identification on them to make you aware, or?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as far as responding to somewhere else outside of their residency, it's still, an opportunity for us to respond if somebody is already registered, and hopefully somebody, if they have a relative or a caregiver or a guardian with them, they can let dispatch know that they are on our registry, give a name, and dispatch would be able to access that within a very reasonable time and still give us that information prior to arriving there. So, it is a work in progress, but how the registry is set up is for, especially when we're responding to their residents of, where they lay their head at night. But it is still an amazing tool that we can have gathered information prior to arrival at any other location. And that would be up to their caregiver or their parent or guardian to advise dispatch, which we will, as we approve these, let them know that it's, if they do call, allow dispatch, the opportunity to know that they are on the registry to be able to pull that up for us. As far as, identifiers, we are not providing anything at this time that would make them, identifiable for our registry. I don't know what the future holds on that one. But I would say we still would be able to gather really good information if it's provided to us.
Well, I'm very familiar with autistic children. And my thought was if they get sent to the store and they have an encounter, they're by themselves. They don't have anybody to say, he has a problem, he's autistic. Bear with him, work with him. And you are called, the police are called. If they had maybe a little pin that they could wear or something that you could look at and say, okay, we know that this young person is registered and know to call in to find out exactly what the issue was. That's what crossed my mind.
Yeah, I love that idea, and maybe that's something we could look at, in the near future, to provide those opportunities for people. I think that's a great idea. I also have two nieces that have autism, and I know the concern of parents, especially when police are responding, especially for those that are nonverbal, or they're afraid of, emergency lights and sirens, or even just the sight of a police officer. The good news is that our police department, we have a great opportunity with the county right now, and we have about 15 of our officers already through a CIT course through the county, which is free to us right now. So we are getting people the opportunity to get really great training on response to those in mental crisis. And also we have a general order that outlines our response as well, which gives officers an opportunity to respond the right way and have at least some basic knowledge of how to respond and communicate with those that are going through a mental crisis.
And you do know, of course, that Macomb County has their schools for, as an example, autistic children. Will you be able to connect with them, to have them contact the parents, to possibly submit their child's identification so
Yes,
that they
ma'am.
are aware that this is available?
Yeah, so I've been working with Sue Lind from ARC, who has a really great relationship with MISD. Once we have this up and running tomorrow, she's just waiting for the go-ahead, and she is going to also do a social media push on our behalf for this registry to, especially for all of those students that are within our districts, within our city, to afford them an opportunity to fill out this special needs registry. And I think why that relationship is so important is because they already have a trust within the school systems and within the community. And it was just kind of a no-brainer for all of us to bring, ARC into the realm of this special needs registry to have that trust, that foundation, what I think is so important, for families to feel comfortable, to feel protected, and to feel that they have a police department and a fire department that is proactively working to communicate with every citizen within our city.
And also giving the child the opportunity to meet you.
Yes.
The policeman is my friend.
Absolutely, and that is of utmost importance for them to, for us to humanize what's behind this badge and make people feel comfortable of who we are as human beings. I say when we put this blue tuxedo on, it makes, people think that we're machines. Well, we're not. We're all, sons, brothers, fathers, and there's a lot of heart behind this badge. And I speak on behalf of all the men and women of the City of Sterling Heights Police Department. And so that is a goal. I wish that we had that for every citizen across our city, is to recognize that this uniform, there's a human being behind it. And there's a lot of love and a lot of empathy and a lot of compassion for our citizens.
All you need to do is let the little boys and girls sit in your vehicle and press that button.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
You're doing
you.
a fantastic job.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Koski. Anyone else? If not, thank you, Lieutenant Cole. Appreciate the.
Thank you so much.
The presentation and the answering of all the questions. Very good job.
I appreciate you. And thank you again, everybody.
Mayor, it's going to be hard to top that, but I'm certain Interim Deputy Chief Dave Allen will give it a good try.
That's the end.
Perfect. All right, well, Mayor, Council, City Administration, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening in regards to a project that the Police Department, the Fire Department, our community volunteer groups, Macomb County Emergency Management, Dispatch, and Lionheart, our representatives from Lakeside Mall, have been working on for the past several months. As you well know, Lakeside Mall presents a unique opportunity for our community to train and prepare for events, and Lionheart has been gracious enough to allow us to use their facility. On May 3rd, we'll be hosting CERT Games, a multi-tiered training with our police, fire, and surrounding jurisdictions. This is the first CERT Games of its kind in our FEMA region since 2011. I'd like to talk a little bit about our team's history, but first, what is a CERT team? A community emergency response team is a group of trained volunteers who help out in their communities during emergencies and disasters. These teams are part of a national program in the U.S. run by FEMA, and they're designed to support first responders like police, fire, and EMS when professional resources are overwhelmed. They help with disaster response support like helping with evacuation, setting up shelters, or providing first aid. Basic light search and rescue operations, small fire suppression like with portable extinguishers, medical operations, basic triage and treatment of minor injuries, disaster psychology, supporting the emotional needs of victims and other responders, logistics and communication, helping organize information, direct traffic, or keep track of supplies. Our team was established in 2004 and currently has 41 active members and is one of the largest in the state. They are one of only 2 in Macomb County. Training is nothing new to the group and brings an element of support and preparedness to the community that few municipalities have access to. This next slide shows video footage of an event in 2017, which was a large-scale CERT exercise done at the old community center just before it was bulldozed down, similar to our opportunity with Lakeside Mall. This event was in collaboration with the Sterling Heights Fire Department. We flooded the community center, created debris fields, and hid mannequins underneath the debris. CERT members were responsible for utilizing their training, doing search and rescue, and extracting victims out in a timely and safe fashion.
Can I get 2 people on the dummy? Okay. All right, he's free.
Maybe you can just put him on the ground and put him on ground.
It's the thing you hope it never happens, right? And then when it does happen and the police officers are taxed out, the firefighters are at, 5 or 6 different runs and incidents, there's nobody left. And we experienced that with the windstorm just a couple months back. We had our CERT volunteers out there guarding electrical lines that were down. We had no police officers left. We had no firefighters left. So they stepped in a big way. And in case of a big disaster, a tornado or something like that strikes, these guys, it's great. We know they're trained, they have the right equipment, and an exercise like this, a real-life scenario, it's going to pay dividends down the road. Again, hopefully we never need them, but if we do, they have the equipment and the training necessary.
As you can see, training is very important to this group. We have an extensive history of it, and we take every advantage of an opportunity when it presents itself. Someone also looked much younger in that video than they do today in attendance. Moving on to CERT Games agenda. CERT teams from the region have been invited to participate in this structured, friendly competition to gauge their abilities to respond in emergency situations. Teams that will be involved in this event from across the state are Sterling Heights, Warren, Livonia, Taylor, Ogemaw, Northern Great Lakes Bay Emergency Management, Southfield, Detroit, Canton, Capital Area CERT, and White Lake Township. Teams will participate in 4 main events: search and rescue, victim identification and wound assessment, stop the bleed, and fire extinguishment. Scenarios will be set up throughout the portions of Lakeside, and the teams will have to identify how to respond appropriately. These events will be timed and scored by assessors, and DTE will also be on site, providing power line training while teams are rotating through the event. We have 10 teams in total that have indicated they would like to participate in the event. The top 3 teams will be recognized after based on final scores. We anticipate over 200 members in attendance, and they will receive valuable training in these scenarios. How does this benefit our community? Multi-jurisdictional training for CERT is beneficial to the community because it ensures that team members are prepared to collaborate effectively across different regions during emergencies. It enhances the overall response capacity by familiarizing participants with varied local laws, resources, and protocols. This coordination improves the speed and efficiency of disaster relief efforts, ultimately saving lives and minimizing damage. Multi-jurisdictional training for police, fire, and Macomb County emergency management, dispatch, and volunteer teams is essential for the community because it fosters collaboration and a seamless coordination between different agencies during emergencies. It helps responders understand each other's protocols, resources, and capabilities, leading to more efficient and effective crisis management. This collective preparedness enhances public safety, reduces response times, and ensures a unified approach to handling large-scale or cross-jurisdictional incidents. Once again, I'd like to express my gratitude for the opportunity to help coordinate and collaborate our efforts in this event. Without the efforts put forth by staff at our department, the fire department, dispatch, emergency management, our CERT and CP teams, and Lionheart staff, this event would not have been possible. It's truly a testament to the city of Sterling Heights and its residents how committed they are and prepared in emergency situations. We were reminded of this recently with the Corwell incident. No agency can ever be too prepared. It truly will be a collaborative team effort for the best outcome. If anyone would like to join the team, please visit the city website and search Community Emergency Response Team Registration. Once again, thank you for the opportunity to present our CERT Games and multi-jurisdictional training event.
Mayor Taylor, can I ask a question? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So I'm wondering about, do you need patience? I know in years past, the EMT students at Career Prep and other schools within Macomb County have participated in mock disasters as patients. So I'm just wondering, do you need patience for triage in this event?
If you have that contact information, we'll take it. We have already started to communicate with like the drama classes at Macomb Community College, with our explorers, and started to reach out to the academy to see if cadets want to be involved. But we'll take any information if you have additional for resources.
I think it's a great opportunity for the EMT students to see,
Agreed,
you know,
yes.
these.
Yeah, because they'll be a part of this if, in the event that it happens.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I will get you in contact with that person.
Thank you.
Council, anyone else? Mrs. Zarko.
Thank you. Through the chair to interim deputy chief Allen. Will there be a place for spectators? Will we be
Yes,
able to
yes.
watch this?
You will be able to watch, not for the public to spectate, but you guys will be allowed to come in and observe any of the ongoing events and competitions that are going on. And we are going to, or we plan to, obviously with approval, get media relations involved with this and videotape the footage, because I think it's a rare opportunity to take advantage of, and people should have the opportunity to see how we're handling it.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
All right. Mr. Vanderpool, thank you.
Yep,
Deputy
thank
Chief.
you, appreciate it.
Sir, if I could, I just wanted to thank everyone again for this opportunity to highlight what goes on behind the scenes here at Sterling Heights, but not only what goes on, but the individuals behind it. There's several individuals spearheading several projects. They all do a ton of good work, and I just want to make sure that they get recognized for their contributions to the department. So thank you. And that'll conclude the presentation, sir.
And Mayor, just a couple closing comments on my report this evening. I wanted to thank everyone who showed up for Shred Day last Saturday. We had another really successful event. It's successful every year. But once again, we had hundreds of people that showed up for Shred Day. And just a reminder that this Saturday will be the hazardous household waste event at our DPW facility starting at 9 o'clock. That too is incredibly popular. Make sure that you pack your patients. Sometimes there's a bit of a line for that, but it's a great program, and it's a great way to get rid of your hazardous household waste. It's pretty convenient, not far to go from your home. Thank you, Mayor. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Vanderpool. Thank you to Chief Pappas and your team. Appreciate the presentations tonight, and from Deputy Clerk Chelsea May. All right, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda tonight, which is the consent agenda. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on any item on tonight's consent agenda? If not, Council, we need a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Koski.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. The next item on our agenda tonight is a consideration item. This is to consider adoption of a resolution asserting the right granted to the City Council under Section 43.3 of the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, MCL 125.38433, to approve or reject the new master land use plan. With a presentation from our city planner, Dr. Jake Parcell. Dr. Parcell.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor, members of council, Mr. Vanderpool, Mr. Denault. For the record, I also dislike presenting after Toby. So if we could move that to the end moving forward, I'd be happy. But this evening, we have before you the conclusion of our public comment for the 2025 Master Land Use Plan. So just some brief background. We've been through it a couple times, but I want to just kind of set the stage. The Master Land Use Plan process happened for nearly the entirety of 2024, a very substantial and robust public engagement effort, which led to the rewrite of our Master Land Use Plan previously adopted in 2017. Due to the planning efforts that have taken place since that last plan, we found it very important to do a comprehensive redraft, in enveloping things like the Climate Action Plan, Sustainability Plan, North Van Dyke Avenue Sub-Area Plan, and the city's EV Master Plan. So what you see there is reflected in the current rewrite, and then also taking into account current changes in conditions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, caused by different uncertainties within the market, and how we see land use development evolving since the late 20-teens. We found it imperative to move forward with some new strategies to bring everything we have onto the same page. So what we did during the planning process is a very open and transparent plan. We had 4 planning commission modules, 2 open houses, joint meetings with city council that led to a lot of wonderful discussion that led to the recommendations in the plan we have. We went in a very broad outreach to not only our businesses, but the youth in our community, our business owners, our volunteer boards and commissions, and our residents as a whole, totaling about 5,000 pieces of public engagement received through this process. That includes our student art contest, meeting with the Youth Advisory Board, 3 surveys, an online mapping tool, meeting with about over 70 business owners face-to-face with a member of the Office of Planning, and having flyers posted there. We also had a mailer that was sent out through the water billing, and reached out 30,000 addresses through our city's listserv to encourage them to participate in our survey process as well. So a very, very open process that we're very proud of, one that we put a lot of effort on staff time to make sure that everyone had an opportunity to voice their thoughts on this plan. What we also did following the release for comment from City Council is work with community relations to post online 2 times to say, please email me directly if you have public comment or feedback on the plan that we can incorporate in this presentation this evening. We also mailed out our notices to adjacent communities, planning authorities, service providers as required by state statute to notify that our draft plan was prepared and that we'd like to move it forward. You got in comment there about 11 pieces of public comment. And I had to put Mr. Keenan here because he's out of town, but I want him here in spirit with us. So we received review from the Shelby Township Planning Commission, who at their meeting last month supported the adoption of the Master Land Use Plan draft. The Oakland County Planning Office reviewed it, found it to be consistent with the 2017 Master Plan and the border of Oakland County and Macomb County, and had no objections to the plan. We received 5 correspondences, and these are all in your packet this evening, from residents near the intersection of Hall Road and Sterrett Street. That parcel there, it's a combination of parcels that have a variety of zoning right now, is listed as regional commercial in the current draft land use plan, which you'll see on the next page. They would like to see it reclassified to either office or comments about it being retained as open space. We'll note we currently have no development proposed on that parcel, although you have seen PUD applications there before. We received one that was not in your agenda statement, but attached in here because it came in on the last day from the owners of the property on the northwest corner of Sheener Road and Canal Road, wishing to be listed as regional commercial rather than enveloped into a district node, and then letters of support from 2 members of our community as well. So here is the draft master land use plan, future land use map, sorry. It's hard to see, but there's a lot of colors, and I tried to make the boxes so they popped out a little bit, so I do apologize if they're small. But just to note, this one right here is an amendment that will be made prior to the Planning Commission public hearing to fully reflect the VDMUD's outline as adopted through the map amendment from council. There is some cleanup on the parcels down here at 14 and Shaner, just to make sure that our road lines are correct with our node, because we had some different colors in the roads in our GIS files that needed to be amended. This node square here, Dodge Park and Plumbrook, and this one at 15 Mile in Moravian have been notified by Planning Commission and by City Council as areas where they may like to see potential node placement. We agreed to an idea with Giffords-Webster where we would highlight these on the future land use map as areas to be reviewed in 5 years, following how we have seen the implementation of our other strategies for our node development. So we will have that noted on the future land use map based on the comments from Planning Commission and Council. And then these are the two parcels that have been highlighted through the public comment. This parcel right here, that's Starrett, and this is Hall, is currently zoned, I believe, a combination of office, parking, and commercial, consistent with what we see along Hall Road here and over here. Office of Planning has recommended a commercial designation for it, but it will be discussed at the public hearing as to the public's comments on there. And then this plaza right here in proposal would be enveloped into the district node here that has been referenced by the public comment, asking to be remaining as regional commercial. But that's all we had. I want to thank you for your time, and I want to give thanks to the Planning Commission staff, and most importantly, the residents of businesses of the city of Sterling Heights for being so engaged in this process. We had a lot of effort and a lot of follow-up going out in this, and I think the people really raised up and gave us the best kind of public feedback we could get. It was incredibly substantial, more so than I see in comparable efforts in a lot of other communities, which I think is a testament not only to staff in my planning office, for the city council, board, commission, volunteers, for going out and speaking to people face-to-face throughout this process at Sterling Fest, at these meetings, open houses, but also just for continual follow-up and making sure that people were aware of what we're doing. And then I also want to give thanks to the Planning Commission for having so many supplemental meetings and participating in our open houses. Their feedback was very important. They really helped to guide this process, and it was quite a heavy lift. So I'm very appreciative of everyone coming together to work on this. But there are two motions in front of you this evening that are in your agenda statement. One being the reservation of the final approval for City Council, which is an option under state statute. There is a resolution prepared by Giffords-Webster in your backup. The second being to defer to Planning Commission. That is kind of the default in the state statute. I will note Planning Commission's public hearing has been scheduled and noticed in the newspaper already for their May meeting. It is our only agenda item right now. And that is a required step regardless of the action by council this evening. And we will be reviewing the public comment and making the administrative changes presented to you this evening for that hearing. But otherwise, no substantive changes to the strategies, to the goals, to the priorities. Everything else, other than a few comments on the master land use plan, really on those two parcels was support from residents, and that was it. So with that, I thank you for your time. Open for questions.
All right, thank you, Dr. Parcell. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? Yep.
Face it towards me or towards you?
Just like that should be fine.
Good evening. My name is Jim Epping, representing tonight Nottingham Commercial LLC, which is at the corner of Shaner and Canal. As Dr. Purcell noted, we appreciate the fact that this was a robust, transparent, year-long effort, 5,000 comments, 30,000 emails, all sorts of things. And in the spirit of that transparency, we have reviewed in detail the master plan as it's been published, as it was recommended to the City Council, as the City Council considered it on February 4th, and as it's been published for 63 days for that mandatory state statute public comment. Specifically, Nottingham Square, the northeast-west corner of Shaner and Canal in 2017, master plan was regional commercial. In 2025, draft plan is regional commercial. It's been published as regional commercial. There's been no city comment, no public comment. It was never discussed at any of the workshops. Giffords Webster, a wonderful engineering consultant, did a robust joint meeting in 2024 with your council and with the Planning Commission. And really, the entire master plan was drafted and has always identified this as regional commercial. Again, our preference is that the city council adopt the master plan or review it as it's been published, as the public comment has been noticed. From our point of view, really with any public process, when it goes to public comment, our assumption is, and I think the public's assumption is that's a locked document. What we've come to realize is since that has been published for public comment sometime after your February 4th publication, that the master plan, and specifically the future land use plan, continues to get adjusted, as Dr. Purcell pointed out. Really, what we object to is this notion that after the public comment has happened, that the Planning Commission, that the planning staff, or, you know, anybody for that matter can go on and continue to adjust it as it's been put out for public comment. Dr. Purcell, the reason we're drawing attention to the future land use map is Dr. Purcell in his presentation to you on February 4th specifically said that the entire year process, the entire master plan culminates with the future land use plan. So in terms of changes, we believe that they are substantive, they are substantial changes because they directly affect the future land use plan. What this does is it creates a node. Councilmember Radke had pointed out at your last council meeting that frankly, nodes may even create some confusion for people, and we don't disagree with that. We think between a zoning ordinance and overlay ordinance, there's some confusion, and certainly adopting it after the fact creates some confusion. We've got some documents that compare and look at all the different things going on as it relates to your district overlay node, rewriting the zoning map, rewriting the future land use map, rewriting the ordinance. It's all kind of happening in motion as you guys are adopting it. So our request, my request for the council tonight would be to adopt the plan, specifically the future land use plan, as it's been published, as it's been presented, as it's been a result of the public workshops, or conversely, if the Planning Commission decides to change it, or the planning staff decides to change it, then that plan, because it is a substantive part, the culmination of the master plan, that should then be renoticed and go through the additional 63 days of public comment. It doesn't seem right that something so important, something that culminates in the master plan, should be changed at the last minute. So again, my request is that you adopt it as presented, as published, and then further direct the Planning Commission and the planning staff to make no additional changes to the future land use map without that public process and that public review. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Got it this time.
My name is Richard Sable. I'm here on behalf of Nottingham Commercial, and that's a Grand Saco entity. And just to follow up with Jim Epick's comments here, what's before the council is whether or not to refer this master plan over to the Planning Commission for review and adoption and take it away from the city council. Our request is that it stay with the city council. The city council has been the one who's been involved in the drafting of this master plan for well over a year. You held a joint conference with the Planning Commission, gave a lot of input. We were watching this throughout this entire process, and just to mention that when you look at this master plan itself, there was a lot of input, and we now come to the point when you look at it, there's provision in the master plan that says regional commercials, properties that are currently held as regional commercial should stay there as in the future land use plan. To find out tonight for the very first time that somehow there's a proposed change, that's a substantive change, and our request is to turn around and have this stay with the city council for its hearings in May, provide input, and decide what it's going to do with this master plan. If it's going to change it, then follow the legal process for it. If it's not going to change it, we're okay. That's what we're looking for. Maintain it as commercial. Obviously, we have other issues with what's going on with the node ordinance. If you remember, Mayor Pro Tem, you asked how much time we needed to look at it. That was well over 30 days ago. We met March 12th. We provided our comments to that note ordinance. As we stand here today, I have nothing to review. So I'm looking at a process where we have a note ordinance that doesn't exist. We have a master plan that refers to a note ordinance for traditional and district nodes. There's nothing in your current ordinances that tell us what that means, and you're looking for a property owner to be bound by something that you have not yet finalized. This is all premature. We have a zoning map amendment trying to put this property within a district node. We asked for a definition of a district node. It doesn't exist in your ordinances. The draft that we looked at and made comments to said specifically, what's the difference between a district node and a neighborhood node? When we look at the ordinance that was presented to you for your approval, which thankfully you adjourned to provide comments to it, there's no differentiation. What we have is a list of permitted uses that been presented to the city council that says this is a big benefit to a property owner. We have gone through the provisions in this proposed draft ordinance and come up with a list of a comparison that I'd like to make a part of the record. And we're going to provide that to you that actually just does a comparison between what's being proposed if you put it in a district node. Actually, you're limiting the amount of uses that we currently have. At best, what we end up with is we're removing the flexibility that the powers from the city council has, putting them in the planning department, which I understand, you know, it's important to deal with the planning department, but it's important also that the city council is making the decisions here. And when we looked at it, we came up with, what did we end up with? I think we said we can put a bowling alley, we can turn around and put a dance hall and a few other limited items, but we tried to make a list, and we're going to present it to you, and we'll also file it with the city, where you watch this comparison of what's going on. It's all premature. Thank you.
Do you want to provide that to council? Do you have copies for us?
Yes, we
If you
do.
want, you can give that to Ms. Riska.
Okay, thank
She'll
you.
deliver it to us. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else on this item? Mr. Smith?
Well, thank you very much, and I was happy to see that in addition to myself, we got some actual property owners and investors that have been able to hire lawyers and consultants that can address this more eloquently than I. This basically is a deluge of gibberish that sets aside all the zoning in the city, that people have bought property and developed it, invested in it, under the belief that zoning really meant something. Basically, we've got, it's like somebody comes up with a constitutional amendment that overrides all other constitutional amendments. It's a big package. Supposedly, there were hearings on this, but just from the presentation of it, you see it's such a big package that nobody can comprehend the impact of it. Even the authors of it really can't fully comprehend the impact of it. This is what you call a data dump, a cell job. You just essentially write a two-page term paper and staple it to a telephone directory and say, look at my data. I think as an alternative to this, maybe just sticking with the procedure we have, if you want to rezone a piece of property, bring it before the Planning Commission, post it, send out cards to the neighbors, and discuss this one point at a time. Don't just rezone the whole city in one fell swoop. I noticed a misspelling in my presentation, but I didn't get, I noticed one in yours too, under, anyway. This, essentially, putting this kind of stuff in residential neighborhoods is an ongoing case of blockbusting. It's like putting high-density housing projects next to residential. It sets a domino effect that brings money to the realtors when people move on, and you end up making 3 or 4 real estate sales when you dump this on somebody. So I guess my action plan would be defeat this plan, and at the same time, let's dismiss the doctor of urbanology that since you hired him for something to do, he comes up with plans like this, which we don't need the plans, and we don't need him. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smith. Anyone else on this item? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mayor Taylor?
Well, Mr. Radke got in just a hair before, so let's see what Mr. Radke has to say.
Resolved to waive the right granted the city council under section 43.3 of the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, MCL 125.28433, delegate final approval authority for the new master land use plan to the Sterling Heights Planning Commission.
Is there a second?
Guess not.
Okay, there's no support.
Mayor Taylor?
Mrs. Zarko?
A resolve to adopt the resolution asserting the right granted the city council under section 43.3 of the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, MCL 125.38433, to approve or reject the new master plan use plan.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion, Mrs. Zarko?
The action tonight is that this will come back to us for a final approval, and I think that's where it should be.
Okay.
Nothing.
Council, anyone else?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Radke?
this is something we haven't done before. Normally, we give the planning commission final approval. We did it when we last revised the master plan. But I also wanted to, that's why I was just going to waive it, but I also wanted to respond to some of the comments. Because I think people at home might get confused by a lot of the stuff that's set up at the podium. The master plan, through the chair to Dr. Parcell, the master plan has to be updated every 5 years under state statute. Is that correct, Dr. Parcell?
The planning commission can either choose to stay with the current plan, revise, or rewrite every 5 years.
Yes. But we're required to examine it every 5 years.
Yes, and our planning commission voted to rewrite.
Absolutely. The one point I wanted to make was looking at, and I actually believe, people keep on mischaracterizing my comments about the Nottingham Square development. I think it should be in a node. And I think that the node should extend all the way up to Hall Road, because I think that we've already placed a Gallo property there, which is a spot zone essentially, in a parking lot that's surrounded by commercial. I think that the idea with that Gallo property was to create a more mixed-use district on the west side of Shaner Road. So I think that the node should actually extend upward, because why else would we put essentially an apartment building in a parking lot if we didn't have plans to change the general area there? Because right now, it's still classified, I believe, to the chair, Dr. Parcell, as regional commercial.
You are correct.
Yeah. So would that apartment building be out of place in a regional commercial parcel, Dr. Parcell?
Yes, it's not really what that would intend for. I think it's, well taken that there is development happening there that is a little out of character with what you see in the regional commercial. Good ideas may be moving forward in the next 5 years when it's reexamined to look at what the actual Lakeside Village district boundary is, as we see within the next few years that the Lakeside development occurs, that it's more realistic that area grows as it will affect the surrounding properties through kind of people wanting to invest in the area with that larger project. So less of the node, which is a bit more of a compact kind of idea from the design guidelines and definition in the plan, but more of an expansion of that Lakeside Village kind of within how it can impact those, residential, or not residential, in this case residential, but commercial properties around it.
I don't disagree, and maybe that's the better solution. But I know that one apartment building is out of place in the current zoning, and I think the goal was to bring more. So I think that we should really examine that area right there. And then I guess just some of the other things that were said, we don't define the nodes. Do we define R60 in our zoning ordinance, or our master plan at all through the chair, Dr. Parcell?
No, the name of the zoning ordinance, the name of the zoning districts are never defined.
Right. So it's not just, the zones don't exist, it's that we just assume that you understand what they are.
It's just the name for it. The district and neighborhood nodes are well defined in the master land use plan chapter and discussed through the engagement we had mostly at the joint meeting with you and planning commission.
Absolutely. I guess I'll sum it up with this. I think that the planning commission has done I would do a couple things different, but a very good job up to this point. I would vest them with the authority of approving or denying the master plan. I don't think this needs to come back to council. I'm happy the way it is. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Radke. Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm an aye. All those opposed?
No.
1, no. Motion carries 6-1. Thank you, Dr. Parcell, and thank you, gentlemen, for presenting tonight. All right, we'll move on to communications from citizens. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on any item that was not on tonight's agenda? Mr. Smith?
Well, he was called.
Okay, I'm chairing the meeting, so Mr. Smith, you can come up and talk, or you don't have to. It's up to you.
Well, can we zero in on this before I start?
Here it comes.
Okay. Come on, we can do better than that.
Patience.
Ooh, it's getting bigger. It's expanding almost, nowhere near as fast as Sterling Heights spending, but expanding. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I saw an announcement that Sterling Heights budget was gonna get jacked up to $312 million. And I couldn't believe it, but I saw another newspaper came out today and now they got it up to 318. So I guess I didn't necessarily believe the Macomb Daily, but since I'm cherry picking the data, I'll take the higher number. Looking back 25 years ago, the city got by on 68 million. Now we're up to 318 million with 250 millions of dollars of increase in 25 years. City increased spending 367%. Percent per year, 14.7. You can blame it on inflation, but here's the consumer price index. It's only up 85%. So you can't really hang a 367% increase on an 85% inflation. The stock market did pretty good. See, they're up 221% on that period of time. But they like, city council seems to like, go ahead, anytime you're ready, focus that, okay. They like comparing numbers when it suits their cause, but comparing the numbers doesn't suit city council's cause very, very good here. In 25 years, federal minimum wage, which I guess for some people that represents how much money you've got to spend, is up 57%. Inflation, 85%. Stock market, 221. That would be good if you'd invested in mutual funds like some of us. Sterling Heights population's only up 7.8%. So you really can't blame the massive increase of spending on either inflation or wages or anything other than just city council's in a gigantic spending addiction. It's rather unbelievable. Here we go. Well, 25 years ago, we had a millage rate of 9 mills. Now we're up to 18. We got a 100% increase in millage. With skyrocketing tax assessments and new constructions, So we're getting 4 times the taxation. We got double the values and double the millage rate, bringing in 4 times the money. Incidentally, cities using water bills to circumvent tax limitations with admin and sewer fees. We're borrowing 20 years into the future. We got an ongoing hiring binge without pension funding. We got dumping millions of dollars into the black hole of Lakeside. We got risky business deals when the city has no business being in business. The city's a regulatory agent, it's not a player in business. We got block busting of established residential neighborhoods with high-density housing. We're employing a doctor of urbanology and a tax break broker. And basically, the bottom line is Sterling Heights has more trouble than River City.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Okay, I'll take you next, Miss.
Hello. Long-time resident, first-time speaker? Okay, do you bend it? Okay. Hi, thank you for having me. My name's Emily Young, I live here. I have one little tiny parcel of land that I own in this great city. I have one little voice and one little vote. My husband and I are raising 3 little members of the next generation. We live in one little ranch at the corner of 16 and Shaner. We have our share of big feelings and conflicts that need to be settled in our house and teach our kids to use I feel statements in order to work together. I'm going to try my own advice here tonight to discuss the plans the CCF has to destroy our sterling oak and neighboring wetlands in order to build another apartment complex. This is Van Dyke, like north of Zap Zone, if you're not familiar. I feel happy to live here. The parks, the splash pads, summer in Dodge Park, the farmers markets, being close to everything is just the best, and I truly, truly love it. I feel grateful for our public servants. You up there have a lot of people to listen to, and I know that you work hard behind the scenes in ways we will never know. So thank you for your hard work and your care. I feel super bummed that this short-sighted action could destroy a tree that was here before any of us were. I feel upset because the city misrepresented how much damage would be done to the land. Just to level the ground for a huge new apartment building would destroy most of the wetland area behind the sterling oak. We always tell the truth in our household with our family. Honesty is important and trust is everything. When you misrepresent something, that is the same thing as telling a lie. I feel frustrated that those with deep pockets who don't even live in Sterling Heights are making such big decisions for our community. I also feel frustrated that it seems to me the city council and the mayor put what the rich foundation wants ahead of what the citizens want. So it seems to me. We circulated a petition because I had to do something. It has over 2,000 signatures, 61% of which are from Sterling Heights. You're here to represent us, the citizens of Sterling Heights. I feel confused because we, in this room, should have a voice and be represented by our government. Although it should be this way, it doesn't feel this way. In our petition, we heard from many concerned and caring citizens about saving our sterling oak and wetland. I feel excited because I know we can find a different piece of land that is already cleared. We have lots of spaces that are owned by the city that can be sold to the CCF for the deep, deep discount we gave them on the land. The oak tree is a symbol of strength and resilience, even in difficult circumstances. I know we can pull together and figure out this puzzle to be good leaders and good neighbors. And I think everybody can win. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Yes, miss.
Okay. there's those. Good evening, everybody. My name is Lisa Graff. I'm a 26-year resident of the city of Sterling Heights. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and the team. I want to thank you for all the work you do. On the best days, it's probably still a very hard job. So I recognize that. Today, I too want to talk about the Chaldean Community Foundation's Phase 2 on Van Dyke. You probably saw the Channel 7 news segment last night on that. And in there, at the very end, I noticed that the city had commented that 8 acres will be preserved as open space. And today, I wanted to be able to show you that that is actually not true. Will they hear me from here? Is that okay? So what you see currently is what was presented back on August 7th during city council meeting to all of you. You can see the orange outline, which is obviously the development with the building at the very front. It looks brown because it was taken during the fall. This was also in your deck at the time, and the stuff in purple was not in your deck. All those dotted lines that you see, those are all wetlands. It was not called out to you guys that they were wetlands at the time. Everything that's in the green is what is going to be destroyed. Everything in the outlying white area is floodway protected by the state of Michigan that no one can touch. So that means not only are the landmark trees, plus also in the very front, the chinkapin oak going to be torn down. This will be scraped to the ground. The dirt will be picked up, transported in order to elevate the building that wants to be built, that you want to have built for CCF. This is what it looks like during the summertime. So there's been rumors that it's just grass. We're just going to tear up the grass and pull up the dirt. That's not true. There are 13 landmark trees within this area here, which, as you can see, is part of what is going to be dug up. So this is your triangular section. The building will be here where the chinkapin oak is. That means that this 8 acres that's going to be preserved, as Emily mentioned, is a lie. It's 4 acres. It's 4 acres that the state of Michigan tells you you can't touch. The rest is going to be scraped to the ground. So I wanted to make sure that everybody that's listening tonight, we kind of cleared that. The city also contacted the Michigan Tree Arborist Certifiers. I don't know if you know that. I don't know who it was in this room or whom it was in this room, but they contacted them to say that an oak was a non-native sawtooth oak, which means, hey, we can cut it down, it's not native. They caused a lot of chaos, a ton of emails, a bunch of people had to get involved to certify that the tree indeed was a chinkapin oak. I think that was very disingenuous subterfuge on the city's part to do that. We have an arborist. The arborist would know it's a chinkapin oak. Also in 1750, nobody's going around taking non-native species, walking around a forest and planting them. It would cost a lot of money, and it's just absurd. So I wanted to make sure that that was also known. Also, heritage. You know, we talk about heritage. You look at the Upton House right over here, right? So that was built in 1866. This tree is from 1750, before the United States existed. It's 116 years older than that house and probably the oldest thing left in the city. We should value our heritage of our homes, the barns, the landmarks, and the trees that are like this. They are unique. So when I take a look at this, I say, you know, for the future generations, other cities care. Like in London, there's a tree there that they will not allow buildings above a certain height or to touch the width of that tree because it's been there so long. Imagine if we thought like that. You know, you're elected by your constituents. You have the people on the survey that have told you. That's 1,236 Sterling Heights residents. You've had the people that have been in this room that have talked to you, and you also know that they are in disagreement with this. Find a more suitable place. Wouldn't it be great if this entire area was a park, where I know you're going to make part of it a park, but make the whole area a park where you've got these landmark trees where people can come visit things that are older than this nation. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anyone else under communications from citizens? All right, I'll close that portion and we'll go on to reports from city administration. Anything tonight, Mr. Vanderpool?
Mayor, just briefly, I wanted to respond to, once again, a number of inaccuracies that Mr. Smith made. Just briefly, when we look at budgets, we focus operationally on the general fund, which was up about 3%. When we look at the overall budget, that includes funds like the capital fund. And as the community well knows, and I think Mr. Smith, we have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on road improvements across the city. Let me repeat that. We've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on road improvements across the city, which Mr. Smith duly noted in those numbers, and that's what residents want. They want us to invest in our infrastructure. They want good roads. They want good water and sewer. They want good storm detention and the like. Infrastructure is not inexpensive. But when you look at the overall budget, that includes capital funds as well. So the comparison that was made by Mr. Smith is really woefully inaccurate, once again. And I'll just close on that section by noting the city's low taxes, when you compare us with any city in Macomb County, our very low debt, of our allowable debt that's allowed by the city charter. Our total debt is 20% of our allowable debt, very low, resulting in our superior bond rating. We have a very low, small city workforce. Here again, when you compare our number of employees, which is still down 100 employees from the Great Recession, it is among the lowest of our comparable communities. Let me just comment too on tree preservation. The city has a very robust tree preservation plan. We're planting 15,000 trees thanks to a voter-approved millage. That's going to equate to over $5 million. We're reforesting city neighborhoods all across the city. If you look at our commercial ways, 18 Mile Road included, Van Dyke, we have planted thousands of trees along our corridors that didn't once have trees. So when you look at reforestation across the city, it's been significant, and it's going to become remarkable over the ensuing future. We're committed to sustainability in Sterling Heights. Our Sustainability Commission's doing a great job. We're going to continue to focus on it. Having said that, there are times in any community nationwide when oak trees have to be removed. They're very desirable trees. Even the residents that spoke today had to have oak trees removed from their property to have their homes built there. Same place with the places in which we work. Sometimes that has to happen. You have to balance development with sustainability, smart growth, and that's what we've been focused on. Now, let me just close by saying that project is not finalized. We don't have a site plan yet. We haven't worked through the site plan. The property owner has indicated that they're interested in doing whatever they can to preserve trees on the site. Like most property owners in the city of Sterling Heights, they too are committed to sustainability. So I'm happy to address any questions the council may have on that. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vanderpool. Mr. Denault, anything tonight?
Nothing from legal, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Denault. Council, any reports, new business?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Yanis.
New business. Actually have a couple of things. So tonight, colleagues, I'm going to suggest and recommend that we consider adopting a responsible contracting ordinance. So tonight I propose we adopted a responsible contracting ordinance that will provide high-quality, cost-efficient, highly skilled, and safe labor to publicly funded projects in Sterling Heights. A responsible contracting ordinance levels the playing field for all contractors when bidding work for the city and provides a transparent bidding process that will hold contractors accountable for the work they do and for the safety of their workers and others on job sites. The benefits of responsible contracting ordinance are many. A couple of the key benefits are quality of work, jobs that finish on time and on budget, worker safety, and more. But maybe the key element from this ordinance is the city of Sterling Heights will help with talent development. One of the pillars of economic development that Luke Bonner mentioned at our first budget hearing. For example, a sheet metal apprentice starts work at $15 an hour, works on a job site, but also attends training at their employee-funded training facility. So you can actually earn a paycheck while you train. Upon completion of apprenticeship, a journeyman sheet metal worker makes $46 an hour, or $95,000 a year, without overtime. That's enough money to buy a house and pay the taxes on the ever-increasing cost of a home here in Sterling Heights. The state-of-the-art training facilities are funded completely by the employees, with a 17 cent an hour deduction from their paycheck, along with another employee fund that pays the apprentices while they're in school. You actually work, make a living, get a paycheck, and get educated at the same time, all privately funded by the union. This ordinance does not give any contractor, union or non-union, an advantage. This is a 50-50 bidding proposition that is transparent and gives everyone a shot at winning a bid, and it will provide that city projects have highly skilled, safe, and well-trained workers spending their taxpayer money efficiently and wisely. So I ask without objection that the city attorney prepare a responsible contracting ordinance for the discussion and vote for our second meeting in May. And having said that, Mr. Mayor, you know, I've expressed some very real concerns about the future of our city, the cost of housing. We have a lot of long-term residents here. This housing is going to be affected by pop-up taxes. You know, we wonder who is going to buy a house in Sterling Heights. I recently attended a meeting from the Greater Metro Area Realtors. One of the speakers there, Robertson Brothers, said 50% of the new houses that they sell, 50% of the new houses they sell are bought by parents for their children because their children can't afford them. And we all know, because we talked about this, by 2034, there will be more people over the age of 65 in this country than under the age of 18. We are getting older. It is getting more expensive. Who are going to buy these houses? We need people that make good wages. We spend a lot of money on entrepreneurship through the Velocity Center, literally millions of dollars. This costs us nothing other than if we award a contract to a union contractor. And then that money actually goes into the training to train the next apprentice and eventually a journeyman that will make enough money to live and provide for his family here in Sterling Heights. So, Mr. Mayor, I think that this is something that we should at a minimum, at least have a discussion about this. You know, bring an ordinance to the council, let's have a discussion, let's have a vote, but I don't think for the future of our city, we should just dismiss this out of hand.
Okay.
I'll stop there for this item.
Understood. Mr. Yanis has proposed that the city administration prepare and provide us with a responsible contracting contractor ordinance
Contracting ordinance.
by the second meeting in May. Is there anyone that has an objection or
Mayor Taylor?
comments?
Mayor Taylor, I'm curious, how does the responsible contracting ordinance relate to affordable housing? That's what you brought up. So that was my question. I don't understand how that, so maybe you can explain that to me.
So it's not affordable housing in the way of building affordable housing. It is about being able to afford a home, making the kind of wages. So we quite often talk about how many engineers live in the city. Engineers make high wages, and we know that not everybody can be an engineer. You know, some people work with their hands. You know, and this is something that politically goes across the aisle, right? Governor Snyder, Republican Governor Snyder, started the Going Pro program in Lansing, and Democratic Governor Whitmer embraced it and continues to fund it. We've had President Trump, President Biden, President Obama, President Bush, all supported training for skilled labor workers. Not everybody's going to go to college. We need electricians and pipe fitters and plumbers and sheet metal workers and painters. We need all those folks, right? And look, we're not going to have, we don't have a long line of building projects coming up here in the city. I think we've done, you know, we remodeled this place and the library and the police department. We've already built the community center. There's not a lot of building left here in the city, but one thing that we should do is make sure that when we do have a building project, and I'm sorry, I'm skewing away from your point. The point is, this is about, to answer your question, this is about people who make good wages that can afford to buy the ever-increasing price of a house here in Sterling Heights, not to mention the ever-increasing taxes of those homes.
Okay, Mayor Taylor, can I continue my thoughts?
Go ahead, Mrs. Strauss.
So what concerns me about this is that if what I'm hearing you say is that this is going to, this responsible contracting ordinance is going to require us in some fashion to hire a certain level of worker. And our fiduciary responsibility may be hamstrung by that, because I do not want to have to be stuck having to go to the higher bid of an item or of a building just because our ordinance requires something of us that we find that we can go to a builder that is reputable but may not meet all those requirements. So I think this ordinance might hamstring us pretty significantly in that respect. And that's my objection.
So can I respond?
Although I am very in favor of
Well,
all
yeah, sorry,
highly
Mrs.
educated.
Sarowski.
That's okay, go ahead.
I mean, I'll give you an opportunity to speak at the end, but I don't
Okay,
want it
very
to be
good,
back
very
and forth,
Thank you.
Yeah, so that was,
after the other.
that's my objection.
Council, anyone else have any objection? Mrs. Zarko?
Through the chair to Mr. Vanderpool, how is this different than the bidding process that we have right now as far as vetting the companies that come into the city to do business with us?
Mr. Vanderpool?
I mean, who's to say that they aren't doing the same things already, and that the people working for them aren't making the same amount of money? So, I mean, I guess that would be my question.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Zarko, that's a good question. First, I'm reading through the list of highlights Councilman Yanez mentioned. Quality of work, transparent bidding process, highly skilled and safe labor, worker safety, talent development, apprentice work, so on and so forth. And to your point, those are all principles that are currently in practice with our bidding. Many times when we have a project that's built out, that we bid out as a city, for example, let's say a road project. In almost all cases, those are unionized workers that are very skilled in what they do. And I emphasize in almost all cases, not all cases. So the vast majority or a high percentage of our city projects, especially projects that require pretty elaborate skilled trades work, that require a high level of electrical work and plumbing and carpentry and so on and so forth. In almost all cases, those are, that work is performed by unionized individuals, well-paying jobs. You know, from some of our projects, you know, they're not cheap. So in many ways, you're already getting this, but to Mayor Pro Tem Sarowski's comment as well, there's an increased cost to provisions like this. The city will pay more if this is a mandate and you require this for all work. I mean, there are situations where this type of ordinance may not be applicable. There are jobs where you don't need to pay that high of an amount based on unit pricing or hourly rates and so on. And we can all think of the numerous examples in that case. So, you know, there are pros and cons to this, or consequences to this, but there isn't anything broken with our current system. It works well. We get very good pricing. We have, as you well know, you analyze our bid documents very carefully. You all call with questions. You have comments on them. Our process is very good. It's sound. It's been fundamentally very successful. But we've always stopped short of requiring special preference ordinances, if you will. And this kind of falls in that category, along with special preference for Sterling Heights businesses. That's come up periodically too, kind of under the same umbrella. And our philosophy has always been, let's help our businesses in any way we can expand their market share by bidding on projects all across the state, instead of, you know, just selecting them because they're the low bid on our projects, and that's been very successful for us. So I could go on, but those are some of my initial comments to your questions.
Okay. And then comparing this ordinance to velocity or apples and oranges. When it comes to this ordinance, I'm going to be using taxpayer dollars to pay for whatever project it is. Velocity actually is not our tax rolls. It is a special district. It doesn't cost the city money. They have their own fund to operate Velocity. So that's apples and oranges. Not only that is, first of all, I support every union that we have in the city, and everybody knows that. As an individual, I support union work. I go to a union printer when I get my campaign literature printed. It's something that I do, but I'm spending my money. When it comes to this ordinance, I'm spending somebody else's money. And that's what makes the difference. Not everybody in this community feels the same way. So right now, that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Zarko. Mrs. Koski.
I agree with Mr. Yanis, simply because I can give you some examples where city has gone with the lowest qualified builder. Example, the steps coming into the addition on City Hall. It seems like, oh, it was beautiful when it was done, but it sure didn't take long to fall apart. And then we had to redo it. Now, I don't know if that was done by a union labor bricklayer or not, but it was the lowest bidder, I'm sure. Sometimes it's a little bit better to pay a little higher price so you don't have to do the job again. I am familiar with what some of the unions do, and now I don't know if Mr. Yanis can back me up or not, but they have apprentice programs. So our young people have the opportunity to work in the different skilled trades so that they can earn and learn a good skilled trade so that they can go out and find good jobs, make good money. I'm a firm believer in quality. I kind of wonder if some of the, and maybe our city attorney here can help me out a little bit, when we contract a big job, we appoint a project manager. Now, that project manager doesn't actually do the work. They hire different companies, different contractors to actually do the work. Do we have any power over them to demand or to request that they have skilled trades to do the actual job?
Mr. Vanderpool, you want Mr. Denault to answer, Mr.
Mr. Denault.
Mr. Denault, if you know.
I can try to give a short answer. I think the power lies in the specs that we put out. So if you put out an RFP or request for bids, that defines what it is we're asking for and looking for, and then the proposer tells us what they bring to the table, and then those proposals are analyzed from there.
So if we had an ordinance like this, would that strengthen our position that we want quality work?
Who'd like to answer? Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, it's hard to say, right? I'm not sure we even know what's being proposed. I mean, so what's being proposed is
You
responsible.
hire, Mr. Mayor, you hire a contractor to do the rec building.
Yeah,
Rancilli isn't gonna do the job himself, right?
I suppose not.
I suppose not. So he hires the bricklayer, the carpenter, the electrician. That's his job to do it. Do we have any power over him as to who he's going to hire? No, because we hired him to do the job, right?
I'm not sure.
With- My question is simply, would this ordinance help to make sure that we get a job where the stairs don't fall apart and the walls don't crumble and quality work?
No, I understand. What I'm saying is, all I have right now, what's kind of difficult for me is Mr. Yanis has proposed a responsible contractor ordinance be studied, proposed, and presented. So what I'm saying is, regarding your question, would this ordinance help accomplish A, B, and C. It's hard to know that because we don't even know what the ordinance looks like right now.
So can't we take a look at it?
Well, that's what we're finding out.
My point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you want Mr. Vanderpool to respond to that last question? Okay. Anything else, Mrs. Koski?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. All right, council, anyone else?
Mayor Taylor?
Mrs. Schmidt?
Well, first of all, from a parent of a son who is a skilled trades person, I am not going to buy his home for him. He's going to buy his own home.
Thank goodness.
I am not part of that 50%.
Thank goodness.
And as a union member myself, I understand the benefits of union. I also understand that there are many, many, many skilled trades personnel out there that are non-union, that are just as skilled as the union ones. And I respect that. I work in skilled trade, I teach skilled trades, so this is what I
No.
breathe. However, I think there's collateral damage when you tie the hands of the city as far as who we can hire, through our contracts. I have great respect for the inspectors of our city that make sure that these contractors and our engineers on these projects, they're not left alone. These contractors are not left alone. We have inspectors, we have engineers making sure that codes are followed, buildings are up to spec, and I'm just not comfortable with the collateral damage of the increase in, you know what? Mrs. Zarco's right. We're spending our taxpayers' money. And there's a lot of votes that I take up here that may not necessarily be in the best interest of the Schmidt household, but they're in the best interest of the city. And this is kind of the example in reverse. I support unions. I am union. However, I think that when it comes time to spending the taxpayers' dollars, those non-union skilled trades personnel are very good at what they do as well. And I can't discount that if the city can pay less of the taxpayers' dollars to get the same not bang for our buck, but the same product.
Yeah.
We have our inspectors inspecting these projects. So at this time, I'm really not in favor of tying our hands. So I have nothing further.
Thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. Mr. Radke?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm proud to stand with Councilman Yanez and support a responsible contracting ordinance. I know I've supported it twice before. It's something that I really do believe in. I believe we should be favoring Sterling Heights businesses when they bid on things. And it's not, I think there's been some confusion about what some of my colleagues have said up here. It's not a union-only ordinance. It's an ordinance that sets a bar that everybody has to meet. And projects might go union or non-union. That's what we're setting the bar for. But I have to say, I do believe the timeline presented is very ambitious, because I have not even seen the language of an ordinance yet. And I don't even know which city or what ordinance we're going to review, because I know that Canton has one and Ann Arbor has one that seems to be working very well. And I want to make sure that the ordinance we have is the best possible responsible contracting ordinance. I guess through the chair to our today's city attorney, Mr. Denault, how much time do you feel you would need to, one, review ordinances in other communities, write an ordinance or present an ordinance, and give us some details so that we can craft the best possible ordinance? I guess through the chair to Mr. Denault. Mr. Denault.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Radke, I didn't want to tell Mr. Yanez it was a bit ambitious, but it is, just because of the logistics of it. You point out, first we would gather, I think, samples from across the region and other good sources. Then we would start to parse through them to try to understand what works and what doesn't in those communities and what might work for us. Then we'd want to vet those with our staff and professional management here. So I do think we would want probably a couple of months for that process to play out, and then be able to bring something forward that we believe makes sense. But then, council may have a lot of input into things that are missing, things that are there that shouldn't be. I think it's a longer process than second meeting in May, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I actually agree with you. I was thinking more along the line of 60 to 90 days. And I think that would properly give us the ability to review the information you're going to present. And I don't want to just take up someone else's ordinance and pass it. I want to make sure it's really true to Sterling Heights. I think about the community center, and one of the frustrations I had that we hired Gleason Contractors to do it, to be the construction manager. And I know that when I was first elected, I went out over there, and they had people working in a trench without high visibility on, with a bucket going above their heads. And that's all stuff that should not happen. And I reported it, and they changed it, but that's my concern with hiring the lowest bidder. Are they following the rules? Are they keeping their employees safe? Because I know we have some union members in the audience tonight, a bucket can take off your head, especially if they can't see you in an unboxed trench. And that's concerning to me. So I want to make sure this ordinance is strong, and it's going to work, and it suits Sterling Heights, especially when we have a business like Roncelli Inc. that does this work right here in Sterling Heights, a great business, that helped us do the building renovations. They were the contractor we hired for the building renovations, which have gone very well. So I'm happy to support this ordinance, but I think that the timeline needs to be pushed back a little bit to 60 to 90 days so that we can properly review proposals and make the best decision possible. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Radke. That's everyone, right? Look, I'll support it if we push the timeline back. Because like I said, I'm not even really sure what it is you're proposing exactly. I have an idea, this has been talked about before. I'm not opposed to studying it and understanding it better. Mr. Yanis.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I apologize. I had to put a time in there. I just picked the second meeting in May. There was no strategy there. I just did. So I completely agree with Mr. Radke. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for what you said. Really, you know, we're talking about something that none of us have really been exposed to, as Mr. Radke said. There's other communities that have had this. They've had it for a while. Nobody's been decimated, you know, because they have this, this contracting ordinance. We would be much better off making sure, you know, to allow the attorney to draft an ordinance, go through it, and then present it, and to have a real discussion about what this is and what it actually does. You know, just a couple of things here. You know, we already have a bidding process that takes into all sort of considerations. Well, if we do, then let's just codify it. And we'll codify it with a responsible contracting ordinance. To Mr. Radke's point, there are contractors who allow dangerous work every single day out there. And this isn't about targeting high-priced union contractors. This is about setting up a set of parameters that if every contractor meets those parameters, everybody gets to bid, union or non-union. It is literally a 50-50 shot that a union contractor may get it or a non-union contractor may get it. This is just about having a fair and open bidding process that makes sure that we get the best work possible with the best warranty possible, and you know, the safest work sites possible to keep everybody safe. Let me just, let's see. I get that there are non-union skilled trades that are very good out there. Again, this has nothing to do with skewing towards union. This just sets a bunch of parameters to allow everybody to bid equally and to make sure that we have good, safe working conditions. So we get the taxpayers, if you're worried about the taxpayers' dollars, spending taxpayer dollars, we don't want to spend taxpayer dollars on extras because somebody didn't bid properly, or extras because somebody screwed up and we had to fix it. I was in the contracting business for a while, and every contractor relied on extras. They all underbid the job knowing that at some point there'd be extras, and they'd go ahead and cash in on the extras. And, you know, we don't want to do that.
All right, Mr. Yanis,
okay, I'm sorry.
Can we, I appreciate the explanation, but I think it'll be more meaningful if we're actually looking at an ordinance
I
and
agree.
seeing it. And,
Yes, sir. I
so
agree.
Can we say, is August okay? Yeah. All right, first meeting in August, second meeting in August, Mr. Vanderpool?
That's fine, but Councilwoman. Oh, sorry.
once we get this together, I want to see what we do now compared to this ordinance, is what I just want to say. I mean, that's what I see, what the differences will be in the ordinance as to what we do now. That's all I want to see.
Okay. Can we say the first meeting in August? Is that fine? That's fine. That's 90 days plus 2.5 weeks or so, 2 weeks. Is that good, Mr. Yanes?
Good for me.
Okay, you have direction. Anything else, Mr. Yanes?
Yes. On a more fun subject, the last 2 years, I've had the honor and privilege to be invited by our Parks and Recs Department to attend the Sterling Stars Dance Recital. That's held 2 days, Tuesday, May 13th and Wednesday, May 14th at Macomb Community College Central Campus. I invite I invite everybody, but I especially invite my colleagues to come. You know what? The staff, the dancers, the kids, the parents, all put so much work into this program. The place is packed. The kids work so hard, especially the seniors who are aging out, and it's their last recital. I particularly enjoy the 3, 4, 5-year-olds trying to figure out what they're supposed to do, and they keep looking off stage at their coach, and the coach is behind the stage showing them what to do. And it's an incredible experience. I will admit this. I'm a 67-year-old man. I cry every time. It's such a beautiful and moving experience, and just to see these families who are so involved with their children. So anyways, I just want to bring that up. I got a letter here from our Parks and Rec Director, Kyle, inviting me. Again, I'm assuming we all got it. But if you haven't gone to the past, please try to attend. It's 2 nights. It's absolutely amazing. And it's one of the best things I experience here as a citizen of Sterling Heights. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yanes. Council, anyone else? Mr. Radke?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple quick things, and first, I wanted to talk briefly. You know, we had a terrible accident at 15 Mile and Shaner this week, and I know I've talked with city administration about this, but I want the residents at home to know as well. You know, whenever something like that happens, especially a fatality, and we had one, I want to say,
September, day after Labor Day.
yeah, it's really depressing to be a member of city council, because you learn about it first. And whenever someone dies needlessly in the city, it's just a terrible feeling. I know we all experience it, because we want the city to be safe, and we want it to be a great place for you and your family. So I know I talked to administration, but I wanted to have city administration briefly talk about this. I know I spoke with, I almost called him chief, Assistant City Manager Dojakowski about the Safe Streets Task Force. And through the chair to Mr. Vanderpool, I believe the Safe Streets Task Force is going to examine the intersection at 15 Mile and Shaner to make sure that anything we can do to possibly make it safer, seeing how we've had multiple accidents, maybe light timing. I don't understand why it keeps happening there, but maybe the curve. It's the same problem I think we experience at 15 Mile and Ryan. And I was hoping, I know that he said that they would examine it, but if you could speak on that briefly, Mr. Vanderpool, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Radke, yes, you're correct. The Traffic Calming Task Force is indeed looking at high accident intersections all across the city. Certainly 15 in Shaner, as you noted, there's been some tragic, horrific accidents there. In this most recent case, you know what, we probably could put a traffic circle there, and it probably would not have changed the outcome here. You had someone traveling at a very high rate of speed, estimated to be close to 100 miles an hour, who, for whatever reason, that's still being investigated. And toxicology reports and the like are not in yet. But that person rear-ended the person who was stopped at a red light. I don't think there's any traffic control measure that would have stopped that. It was just a horrific situation. And there was a similar situation last year in that vicinity outside of the intersection, further up the road, that was due to a medical condition. So these are some of the things in a big city. It's really, you have a higher percentage of those situations. But that's not a good excuse. As you said, we're really interested in making our roadways as safe as they possibly can be, not only for motorists, but for pedestrians. So yes, this intersection, I know it's a long response, but this intersection with many others across the city, believe it or not, this 15-inch chainer is probably in the top 20, but it's not in the top 10 in terms of number of accidents and fatalities at that intersection. So it's an important intersection. We're taking a look at it. And you can see some of the traffic calming that's unfolding all across the city. We're getting a lot of attention on it. Everything from chicanes to medians to speed limits stamped on the pavement. Tree-lined streets helped. I mean, all this. And at 15-inch chainer, we have put in, I should say the county has put in right-hand turn lanes that has helped mitigate some of the congestion at that intersection. But the answer to your question is yes.
Thank you, Mr. Vanderpool. And then, in speaking with Assistant City Manager Dojikowski, he actually sent a page from our safety study about the most dangerous or where the most accidents occur, intersection of Sterling Heights. I was actually shocked to see that basically the two of the three worst intersections in Sterling Heights are Hall Road from essentially the freeway to almost Shaner. Delco to Kemp, I guess, was like 113 crashes on average, which is double the next worst intersection. So I'm glad that we're doing this work. It's very data intensive. It's not shoot from the hip, but we are doing everything we can to make the city safer because we want to achieve Vision Zero, which is zero fatalities, both pedestrian and car related. So I appreciate that, Mr. Vanderpool. Secondly, I know we spoke about this earlier. I know with the PPP millage and the acquisition of Greenbelt property across the city, we've talked of creating a land bank. And there's different ways to create a land bank, both either a sustainable land bank or through the Land Bank Act, which is a state law. I was hoping, without objection, that the city attorney would prepare a report on the possible benefits of codifying this as an actual state land bank. If there were grants available, I know Warren has said that they've gotten some grants to operate their land bank. I guess what the pluses and minuses are. I'm not saying that we need to create the land bank, but I'd like to know if it'd be beneficial because I think that there's a much larger conversation. And we met in closed session and discussed some possible options for property acquisition in the city, but I'm wondering if a more formal structure and the ability to both do some things that land banks only can do, like quiet title, clear title, and also, I guess, not every property is best to be preserved forever. I'd like to look at foreclosures in the city. Are they heavily treed lots? Could we split them? Could we trade them for property that might be more desirous for our long-term recreation goals and sustainability planning? So I'd like to examine this proposal from every angle to make sure that, one, are there grants available? Is there a way to pay for it? But also, should we codify the land bank so that we have a city land bank like Warren? So without objection, I'd ask for a report on that. I'm not going to put a time limit on it. I'd let them just to do it. But I'd like more information so we can make a decision.
Any objection?
No objection, but when we start talking about this, if we could also take into consideration when we have new developments to allow the developers to have their own land bank for, like, if they're not using parking places. So in other words, it would be, if they decided, I want to land bank 20 parking places because I might not need them, but later on I need to use them. So if we're looking at all of that, they have smaller land banks.
Sure. I was talking about like a.
You're talking about a citywide.
Yeah, citywide land bank.
Yeah.
But I'm totally for developers preserving green space, and if they need to future make it to parking, absolutely. I'm totally in favor of that.
Any other objections? All right, hearing none.
Okay.
You have direction.
And then third, my last thing, this came up after I was watching a ZBA meeting. Right now in Sterling Heights, a city ordinance says that if you develop a residential property, you're required to place a tree in the right-of-way when you develop the property. There is no corresponding requirement for commercial or industrial property. So if you go through our city, about 1/3 of residences do not have a tree in front. That's why we created the PPP millage to re-tree the city. But a lot of our commercial corridors are bereft of trees. So I'd like a report and a possible ordinance change recommendation about what we can do as properties are being redeveloped in our commercial corridors to require those right-of-way trees that we require in residential. I guess without objection, I'd ask.
Can you give me a little bit more, so
right
are
now-
you saying for any new development or any development, any commercial industrial property, period?
So any new development, once it's developed, I don't think we can change their site plan unless they redevelop. But there are properties that are redeveloping, demolishing buildings, building new buildings. And I think that if they are redeveloping, looks like a new house. You have to put a tree in front of your house on the right of way if you're a builder, building a new house. I think if you're building new commercial or industrial, you should have to put a tree in the right of way, which right now is often left bereft. I'd like to have a report on that, if there might be a problem, and I guess a possible ordinance change that we could hopefully easily do to make this the future.
Council, any comments, objections?
I have a question.
Mrs. Schmidt.
Through the chair to Mr. Denault. Isn't that done on the site plan? Don't they have to follow the tree ordinance on the site, on a new site plan, or if they're doing a new development or even a redevelopment?
Mr. Denault.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Ms. Schmidt, and I would defer to Dr. Purcell a little bit too, but absolutely, our ordinances already require a landscape plan for redevelopment and new development. So there might be some discretion within that process that the planner could speak to better than I, whereas maybe Mr. Radke's proposal is more of a less discretion kind of approach. But I would defer to Dr. Purcell if you need additional information on that.
Dr. Parcell.
Thanks. So I know that we've talked about this a little bit, Councilmember Radke. So correct me if I'm wrong in your assertion here, but we have our landscaping ordinance that you have to follow, but that is for the parcel itself. I think the biggest kind of impetus, and from what I've gathered in the last couple of years working with this council, is that the tree canopy in the public right-of-way is what is being addressed more. Residential homes, you're required in a new subdivision every 30 feet to plant a tree. If it's a commercial or industrial property, you're not required to plant in the public right-of-way, just on your own property. So we'll flood trees into where we are able to meet all of our requirements, to fill up the front spaces. A lot of times what we see is problems if people want maneuvering lanes. We need lines of shrubs every 30 inches in the front yard setback and things like that. But if it eliminates space to place trees, we can't tell them to plant in the public right-of-way by ordinance. We're not able to have that ability right now.
So would it reduce the number of trees they would need on their site?
It depends how we write it.
Okay.
We could very, very easily say that you're required to do both. The thing we would probably want to run by on some of the larger right-of-ways is just a quick check-in with DTE and ITC and City's Office of Engineering to make sure that they're in DPW, to make sure there's not an issue with like lines of sight, plows being built underneath power lines or things like that. But we could definitely identify areas where it's very possible and that it would make a lot of sense. And a lot of the smaller industrial streets off of Mound and things like that, there is quite a robust green belt that could be planted in.
Okay, thanks. I have nothing further.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Schmidt.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Radke.
Sorry, I just wanted to add one more comment to that. And the reason that I brought this forward is I've seen several times over the last 2 years where developers have come in and essentially said, we want to locate our entire tree canopy on this back corner of a site. Or we want no trees in front of our property at all, but we want to do it along one side. And that, I think, is a way to defeat the idea of having a green belt along the front of our properties that shades the public right-of-way, that gives curb appeal to your properties. And I see them keep on doing this. So for us, we don't allow residential property to be constructed this way. I would say I'm for more trees everywhere. I always have been. But to me, I want to make sure that as long as we're not disrupting, obviously, DT power cables or anything under the ground. You know, there's some places we can't plant trees for whatever reason. But if we can, I'd like to have them be located in the right-of-way to shade our public right-of-ways, to make walking a little bit easier. And let's be honest, you can't see the trees in the back, you can see them in the front. And that's where your curb appeal comes in. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry to.
All right, anyone else? Mrs. Koski?
Just a quick comment. I was reading, excuse me, the backup material on the master land use, and there was a section in there about the land banks, about purchasing green space. And my question is, when we do the purchase of green space, it mentioned that sometimes you buy property that is to be preserved. Is that something that we're going to do, and will we get instructions as to how that happens?
Who is that question directed towards?
Whoever wants to answer it.
Do you mind if we pause that? I mean, it's a great question.
It's on page 99, so whenever you're ready.
Yeah, but I'm specifically asking right now, does anybody have objection to an ordinance as outlined by Mr. Radke?
Now, that would be part of his ordinance.
A land banking, no, I think
That
it's.
was the previous.
That was the previous one.
Oh,
We-
Two separate
excuse me.
things.
But this can be added to that. I'm comfortable with it.
Mr. Van, why don't you answer now, just so it's on top of your mind?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilwoman Koski, the master plan references a land bank in a little different sense than what Councilman Radke has mentioned. So the land bank you're referring to in the master plan is in essence our land preservation effort that was approved by the voters to acquire property across the city and to ensure that forevermore it's preserved as open space by placing a land conservation easement over it. So that, call it what you will. You can call it a land bank, you can call it a land preservation initiative. The description isn't as important as the effort to preserve open space. What Councilman Radke's talking about too is there's a state statute that it is defined by the state, and it's called a land bank. And that's in essence where you're purchasing property through foreclosure that's distressed property, that's in a brown field, that it's a little more complicated than what we're doing right now. But that's not to say they can't both be merged in one shape or form, which is what Councilman Radke's talking about in the report that he's asking for, if that makes some
I
sense.
just thought it could be combined.
And, okay, anything else regarding the ordinance request?
Nope.
Okay, Mrs. Zarko.
If we're talking about land banking, is this something that?
We're not talking about land banking. We're not. We're done talking about land
anymore.
banking.
But I just want to include donations in that, because there might be
Absolutely.
parcels that are in the city that are just a strip. They might be 6 feet by whatever, and you can't develop it. Could somebody donate that to the city? So, I mean, let's have that in the ordinance as well. But I will tell you, there are areas of the state that don't want any more land banking, because they are at a capacity where people have donated it because, for the reasons that Mr. Vanderpool mentioned, is they went into foreclosure. So that's how they attained it, or they can't sell it. So it's like, they just give it to a land, there are areas in the state that have too much land banking, but we'll try.
Okay, by show of hands, how many people object to Mr. Radke's request? All right, you have direction. Mr. Radke.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, on the second one,
No, the third one. No, the
I just
third
want to
one.
know what the direction is on the trees.
He wants you
Does
to
he
come
want a
up.
report, an ordinance?
He wants you to come up with a report that could potentially be an ordinance regarding trees in the right-of-way
Yes.
on commercial and industrial properties.
Got it.
Put that very well, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. What's number 4?
Wow, it's been a very busy meeting. That's all I have right now, Mr. Mayor. I'm just so excited about all the PPP millage is going to do for the city. And these ideas that we're talking about right now were enabled by our voters. They supported the millage. They are urging us forward. And I know that council is very excited because we talked about it. They're very excited. So this is all just, we finally have the resources. Let's go out and really make it great for the citizens. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Radke. Anyone, Mrs. Zarko?
Thank you. First of all, I want to welcome Mr. Denault tonight. We're happy to have you with us. We're trying not to make it too difficult, but, we just don't want you sitting there
I'm going to tell
tonight.
Mr. Koszybski, me coming here led to a lot of projects for us.
See, I'm going to start with trees, but I'm going to start with the oak tree that we're talking about, and I hope I have it right. It's Chinko pin oak, correct? Okay, because I'm not an arborist, but what I do want to do is, how do we get saplings from this tree? Because we don't know whether this development is ever going to happen, okay? So, and I'm not familiar with the tree because, I could tell you I have maples and they have those little seeds that, I can get, another maple tree that way, and some oaks have acorns. We all know that. So, but I'd like our arborists to actually look into seeing how we can get saplings from this tree. And we're talking about one tree, but we could have probably 50, 200 of these that we could plant all over the city. If we could start them now, and like I said, we don't know if this project's even going to take place because, so if any, without objection, can we go and research this with our arborists to see if we can get some seedlings or saplings?
No objection, you have direction.
All right. Exactly.
No discussion.
Okay, then, the other thing is I went to the clergy forum meeting on Friday morning. It's disappointing that we don't get more churches involved. There's, I forget, 40, 50 maybe different churches, denominations throughout the city. So if you're out there and you're listening, you might go into church this weekend because it's Easter, and you might mention that, the city is looking to communicate information to your communities. And part of it is that we're there to help you. And I have to say that Interim Chief Pappas was there, and we talked about mental health, and it was probably one of the best discussions this group ever had together, because it was a problem that we all see every day. And it doesn't matter what position you are in that church, you've seen somebody that needs help. So I just think that we should have better attendance there, so if you can help us, that would be wonderful. Then I went downstairs to Parks and Rec. And I noticed that some of the residents that were coming up to the counter to do something online with the city had to go and be directed to the front door of the community center in order for their phones to work and for the city to get the email that they were trying to send. So, I don't know what they need there. I did mention it to Kyle, and he was gonna look into it, but then the staff said the same thing. It wasn't just a one-time occurrence, that many times people had to go to the front door of the community center in order for the emails to go through. So if we could look into that, if they need a booster or something there. I didn't think their Wi-Fi was working, to be very honest with you, but that was just me looking up at the unit. So I don't think residents should have to go to the front of the building. All right, now, I'm going to bring up something that Mr. Radke brought up, and because I live at 15 and Shaner, I have to tell you, Saturday evening, sitting in the family room, and you hear it. And usually, I walk outside and make sure I look both ways on Shaner to see if anybody needs help, if I have to call 911. Well, it didn't happen this time. We didn't see anything, so we thought it must have been something else. It was a horrific noise, horrific. And then we heard all the sirens. In the scene itself, when some of our officers that were here tonight said it's the heart behind the badge. I just have to tell you, the experience that when you see our team in action, the firefighters, the police officers, it just so happens that there were two members of our cops team that were two cars away from the light, that if it had been, 10 seconds one way or another, they could have been involved in this accident. So it's like, when I saw, I've seen this, I've been there for 40-some years. So, this is not unusual. I could tell you about the first time there was a fatality at that corner, and that was when Shaner was only 3 lanes. It wasn't even 5 lanes at that time. So this has been a chronic problem. It's been there all the time. I don't know what we can do about it. I don't know if it's a light. I'm hoping that there's a camera there that dispatch had it, so eventually that they'll be able to tell us exactly what happened. But there's 4 businesses on the corner, so they should be able to get as much information as they need. I just, I guess it's just a plea for people to slow down. And and you can say, well, this person that didn't stop, well, how do you explain that to the person that got hit and their family? You can't explain it to the person because she died. But how do you explain it to the family? Well, this was something that was out of our control. There's got to be something here that's in our control that we can do. And I think we need to look at this seriously because it is a major problem at that intersection. I mean, there are 3 people that have died there in 7 months. It's not something that, oh, it's the lights. And up until then, I've heard, the accidents happen. 3 medical incidents where somebody was a diabetic and was drifting off. I even said, there's something on the corner. Is it the ingress and egress of some of the places that are there? That's what's causing this? Do we need to make adjustments there? The lighting, I have to tell you, the lighting would have had nothing to do with this, anything to do with this particular accident. But there's times of the day that the leading left isn't leading.
Right.
It comes after. There's a change in this. Is this something that needs to be consistent? And that's not the only intersection in the city that does that.
Dodge Park does that.
So, but that's the county that takes care of it, so we have to plead with them. But I have to tell you, when I saw the county trucks, the roads, with their trucks putting up the barricades, I knew how serious it was. We had to call extra people in to work because we didn't have enough police officers. I actually saw a universal ambulance because all our ambulances were out. So this was a major event, and we have to learn from it, and we have to do something about it. So, you know what? Let's do what we can, because this cannot happen again on any intersection in our city. So, take care of my trees and take care of that corner, and I'm okay tonight. But I have to kudos to every city employee that was there, the cops on patrol. They were there from it was between 6 and 6:30, I think, when the accident happened. And I'm sure they were cleaning up at midnight because I heard them cleaning up at midnight. So that's how long it was there. So I don't want it to ever happen again. I don't want anybody to see this again. Nothing further.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Zarko. Mrs. Koski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Listening to Mrs. Sarko brings back a few thoughts. It seems like red means stop, yellow means go as fast as you can because it's going to turn red. When you have a rear-end collision like that, that means that the woman, I'm going to guess, thought that the light was going to turn red very quickly, so she stopped. The guy coming behind thought maybe, hey, I can get through that light before it turns red. It was just caution, so he went on through. I have seen somewhere along the line where they have lights at the side of the road flashing and it says, going to turn red. Something like that. Does anyone else recall seeing anything like that? Is that something that maybe we could use at that intersection? Kind of like a warning flashing light that it is going to turn red, that you better stop. It doesn't mean hit the gas. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Koski.
Mayor Taylor? Oh,
Mrs. Schmidt.
thank you. Just a couple of things. Mr. Vanderpool, this report that Mr. Radke got, can you make sure all of council got that? I don't think, I don't.
Which report is?
The report, the accident intersection.
Just an email from Dale, but yeah.
Yeah, can you make sure that all of council gets that, please?
Sure, Mayor and Councilwoman Schmidt, that is in your comprehensive traffic analysis conducted by HRC, but I'll be happy to send you that page.
Okay, thanks. And as far as the accident, speeding is just so out of control, not only in our city, in every city. Impatient drivers have caused so many fatalities and damage. And a big thing now that I'm finding is people are passing you in the left turn lane because you're going too slow, because you're going the speed limit. So, enforcement needs to step up a little bit, I think, with these speeders. But I don't know what the solution is. It scares me. It scares me to be out there, and I have to tell you, I'm at 15 in Shaner. I live very close to there and drive that intersection every day, and since Saturday, I've not wanted to have to stop at that red light. And as far as what Mrs. Koski was referring to, there's a curve on Shaner, when you're southbound on Shaner, and you're coming up to Utica. It's kind of a dead curve, and there's a light there. And there are systems that will say, be prepared to stop if flashing, that would warn drivers that you're coming up to a red light, because there's a stacked up car, a stack of cars at that red light. So that's one intersection that comes to mind, is that curve southbound on Shaner when it's approaching Utica. And people are going 50 and 60 miles an hour. So if they have that flashing light and they know, hey, there are stopped cars coming up, they're hopefully will slow down too. So that's one instance that I thought of. And as far as the tree, you know what, Mr. Mana's comment of, we're gonna preserve as many trees. And he doesn't address the tree. Have we had discussions with him? And I know, I was on the losing end of that vote. So that's neither here nor there. Council approved it. We go forward with it. But is there any way they can reconfigure that building, if it even goes through? Because they haven't gotten authorization from Eagle or anyone else, as far as I know. That building can be reconfigured. That would be a beautiful oasis for the residents of that apartment building. So, through the chair to Mr. Vanderpool, do you know, has there been any discussion?
Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilwoman Schmidt, we have not had any site plan submittal yet. Once we get a site plan, that will put us in a position to work with the CCF to see if there are any options to consider. We want to save that tree as much as everyone else. If there's any conceivable way to do it, we're focused on doing that. So it's a little bit premature. We're a long way. We're years away from any determination being made on this tree, but we share everyone's concern with this tree and tree preservation.
Well, I guess my fear is, once they go and have plans drawn up, that there is no way they're going to change those plans. So if the discussion's made before the plans are drawn up, maybe they can be a little more flexible when they're with their architects. Other than that, I love Mrs. Yarko's idea about doing seedlings from that tree. I think it would be a great adventure to do. So with that, I have nothing further, Mayor.
Thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. Mrs. Sarowski.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. So I have a suggestion for the 15-mile road, because that's where the gentleman, so Shaner has quite a lot of lights. It has a curve. So there is a little bit of natural way to traffic calm through Shaner. 15 Mile, on the other hand, has a long straightaway. You don't get up to 100 miles an hour hitting lights all the way through that light. So maybe we could suggest or find a way to put in a few more lights just for traffic calming and safety that stops the traffic along the way. I know that lights have to make sense. You just don't put a light in the middle of the road, but that might be an option if we can just add some more, if there's a possibility to add some more traffic lights on the longer stretches of road that do not have, where there's a space, so that maybe we could get the drivers to slow down because they have to stop at another light. Now, granted, you can only hope for their stopping, but that's at least a suggestion. And so I do want to also echo and say I really do like what Mrs. Yarko is saying, echo my colleagues' appreciation for the tree saplings, because this tree, okay, first of all, when my tree died in my backyard, my catalpa, I cried for a week. So I love trees. I grew up in the country. Trees are extremely important. We didn't know about this tree when we voted on the property, so there's a lot going on with that it was a significant, possibly significant tree. But this tree is the life of chinkapins are only 250 years, so saplings, if we can get some, are great, because this tree is already over its average lifespan. Trees don't live forever, even with the best of care. So we'd love to be able to try something to keep that going. I have talked to Mr. Manna myself, and he has actually assured me that they're going to try to reconfigure what they can, and keep that tree in mind. So there's that, And the more pressure he gets, because, we have to approve the site plan, it doesn't necessarily mean that whatever they give to us is something that will be approved. So there's that, and he's aware of that. And then I also want to, speaking of trees, getting back to those, we do have the volunteer Think Sterling Green on the 19th, which is a Saturday, starting at, I believe it is 9 a.m., but I don't know for sure. So it's through the chair to Mr. Vanderpool, do you know what time this starts?
Mr. Vanderpool.
Mayor, if you'll give me 30 seconds, I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you. So while we're doing that, the reason that I'm very interested in this is because this is the Think Sterling Green Initiative, which is the second annual event, is in celebration of Earth and Arbor Day, and those that are very much professing how much they love trees. This is an opportunity to not just love one tree, but to help the whole city. So I'm inviting everyone that is concerned about trees to think about this. They are promoting sustainability, environmental stewardship, green initiatives, and we are also, attendees are participating in a community tree planting and some workshops. So this is an ongoing event with different, it sounds like different stations and different areas to participate. So I think it would be a wonderful event, and I am planning to go, so.
It is Saturday, noon to 2.
Noon. There you go, noon to 2, even better, I can sleep in. So that's all I have, and I do want to assure the residents and that we are, we don't just take it lightly that we're a tree city, and we're just picking and choosing trees. We don't want to see something significant go. So we're working very hard on that. So my best advice is to not demonize us, and to say that we're selling intentional falsehoods, because that doesn't help anybody, and that only puts false hard feelings on our hearts that we shouldn't have. So I'm asking for patience and kindness and understanding and belief that we are trying to do our very best. And that's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Sarowski. Man, we had a lot in the last hour, so no way I can get to all of it, but I appreciate my council colleagues for bringing up a lot of important things tonight. I do just want to respond briefly to a couple of things that were brought up regarding the Chaldean Community Foundation development over on North Van Dyke. I see Dr. Parcell is here. I don't know if I'll need you. The property is a 10-acre parcel. 2 acres are going to be developed, and 8 acres are not going to be developed. Is that a fair summation of the project as it's been proposed thus far?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not that 4 acres will remain undeveloped and 6 acres will be developed. It'll be 8 acres undeveloped, 2 acres developed, right?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Look, we've all said we like trees, and I don't have any reason to doubt any one of us. I love trees. I bought a house specifically because it had a big yard with lots of trees. I've got 50 or 60 mature trees in my backyard. I had a house with 2 beautiful maple trees in the backyard. I loved sitting on my deck, just looking at them, enjoying the shade. We had the buyer came back and said, did their inspection. This was a few years ago. The buyer came back and said, did their inspection. And they said, we want you to knock like $3,000 off the sale price because we're going to need to take those trees down in the backyard. And I said, no, we're not selling then. Forget it. I'm not going to sell you the house just so you can take these trees down. So we ended up negotiating, I guess, and they pruned them. So we gave them some money to prune the trees. But look, I love the trees in the city, and I'm a huge supporter of the millage that we just passed to reforest the city, planting more trees, encouraging people to plant more trees. But there's a balance here. We have something like 45 to 50,000 residential units in the city of Sterling Heights. I should take that back, single-family homes. More when you count apartment complexes and businesses. And every single person who's going on Facebook and complaining about taking a tree down, trees were taken down so that person could live in the house that they live in right now. And I haven't seen one of them volunteer and say, I will give my property back to the city, you can bulldoze my house, and we'll just plant trees there. Nobody is saying that. And there's this mentality that, well, it's okay that I have a house and trees came down so I can live somewhere, but it's not okay for anybody else after me. For the rest of those people, you're just gonna have to find somewhere else to live. And if we say that, and Warren says that, and Fraser says that, and Chesterfield, if everybody says that, then where are people going to live? It's a delicate balance. And this is not, it'd be one thing if it was like, as the first resident, who I didn't catch her name, it'd be one thing if this was a deep pocket outsider or some rich person coming in and saying to the city, I want to buy 10 acres, I want to build a humongous, 80,000 square foot house for me to live in. Then I'd say, no, go pound sand, go back to wherever you came from, we're not doing that. This is going to be 80 apartment units for lower, moderate income people living in a vibrant area in the city of Sterling Heights. So to me, I love trees. I love preserving trees. I love the history that tree represents. But I'm sorry, 80 families having affordable housing in Sterling Heights is more important to me than a 250-year-old tree. And if you disagree with me, then that's okay. We can disagree. But from my standpoint, that's what's important here, is that this is going to provide housing to people who are vulnerable, need housing, and don't have it right now. And to accuse the Chaldean Community Foundation, which is staffed with wonderful people, selfless people who give of their time and energy to help literally the most vulnerable people in the world in some cases. And right now, with what this current administration is doing to refugees and to immigrants and to people of brown skin color, to come in here and accuse the Chaldean Community Foundation of being some rich, deep-pocketed outsider, I'm sorry, but, that's ridiculous. And she ought to be ashamed of herself for coming in and saying that nonsense. And the patronizing way that she did it, I thought that was absurd. The Chaldean Community Foundation is open to immigrants, refugees, people of any religion, any color, any creed, helping them to realize the American dream. They're not some wealthy foundation. They're getting by through contributions and donations from people like me, you, anybody else who wants to support that organization. And they're not going to they're a nonprofit organization. They're not going to get rich on this housing. They're doing it to help vulnerable people. You don't have, just because you don't like something that's happening, you don't have to make the person on the other side of the issue a monster. Good people do things that you might disagree with. That's okay. Good people do things that you disagree with. Good people do things I disagree with. That's okay. I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Wait a minute. First of all, you're showing your age by, what was it, pound sand? And the other thing is we could remind people we're going to be here at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning because we have another meeting.
We'll be here in
Okay.
11 and a half hours. Yeah, we'll be back here 9 a.m. tomorrow for an exciting initiative, a partnership with the city of Warren. So tune in at 9 a.m. Watch it on YouTube. I talked to somebody at the library. She says she watches every meeting, doesn't watch it live. She gets popcorn and watches it.
Mary came today in person.
I saw it. It wasn't Mary. It was somebody
Mary
else.
came in person today.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support. Moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, guys.